Hello,
Hello
welcome
everybody,
again
and
to
welcome
Glenbard
to
West exciting varsity soccer.
Today, Glenbard West will host the conference rival York Dukes. Tonight is Parents' Night, and we would like to welcome all the parents from both teams. And parents who haven't received their numerals and flowers, please do so right now at the concession stand at the west side of the stands. The starting lineups for both teams are: for York, in goal, number 1, Steve Taylor. At fullback, number 5, Dan Heinz. At forward, number 9, Dan Zarilla. At midfielder, number 10, George Demakis. At forward, number 11, Brad Carlin. At fullback, number 17, Carl Hager. At midfield, number 18, Rusty Hayes. At fullback, number 20, Nate Shemshed. At midfielder, number 21, Jeff Sitch. At fullback, number 24, Mike Greena. And for the Hilltoppers, in goal, number 1, Gary Ryder. At halfback, number 12, Jeff Condon. At forward, number 13, Sean Dunlop. At halfback, number 25, John Dooley. At halfback, number 26, Mike Balone. At halfback, number 31, Josh Arnaldez. At forward, number 35, Jim Wire. At halfback, number 36, David Hegrenese. At defense, number 37, Brad Bruckner. At fullback, number 38, Brian Eastman. And at forward, number 42, Clay Trotter.
And there you have it, the starting lines for the York Dukes and the Glenbard West Hilltoppers. York coming into the match is 2-3-1 in their conference record and 3-7-1, 3-7-3 overall. Glenbard coming in is 1-2-2 after last night's tie against Hinsdale Central and 3-7-4 overall. We're about ready for the kickoff before both teams get onto the field. Last night, the game between Hinsdale Central, which was started on Tuesday, was protested by Hinsdale Central because of the time that it started at 5:30 instead of 4:30. And yesterday, Wednesday, the teams met again to play out the fourth quarter while Glenbard was leading 1-0 after the third quarter on a goal by Sean Dunlop. Hinsdale Central scored with 3 minutes left in the fourth quarter by Chris Kowalskiewicz, and then the teams went into 2 5-minute overtimes with no team scoring, so the game ended 1-1. Glenbard, it looks, will have the kickoff, so we're about to get started.
Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Glenbard West with the kickoff. Mike Balone passes back to John Dooley. He passes up into the midfield. There'll be a throw-in for Glenbard West by Ty Miller. Clay Trotter down on the wing, tries to cross it. Goalie for Hinsdale Central, Steve Taylor, picks up the ball, rolls it out. Clay picks it up, gets a shot on goal, and Clay Trotter scores a goal. Oh, right away, 19-17 in the first quarter, and Glenbard's up on a freak goal. The goalie should have thrown the ball out farther on that one, but he didn't distribute the ball properly.
Glenbard goal scored by number 42, Clay Trotter at 19-17 in the first period.
That's a really good way for Glenbard to start off this West Bourbon Conference match, coming out and scoring right away, only 47 seconds into the match. We have a pushing foul, indirect free kick for York.
Free kick for York.
Clay Trotter with the ball. Passes off to Sean Dunlap. Dunlap passes out on the wing. Whistle on the ball. Kicking on his foul is on Glenbard. Kicking, direct kick for York High School. Ty Miller clears the ball upfield for Glenbard West. Clay Trotter and Sean Dunlap on the attack. Ball hit the referee. When the ball hits the referee is part of the playing field, so if the ball hit him and went into the goal, it would be a goal. So right now, it'll be a throw-in for Glenbard West. Ty Miller with the throw. Good throw by Ty Miller up to Sean Miller. Steve Nelson of York with the save. Mike Blown breaks up the play very nicely, tries to get it through, picked up by Brad Bruckner. Brian Eastman with a good tackle, shot on goal. Glenbard West goes up at 17:20 in the first quarter, 2-0. Excellent play by Brian Eastman, getting the tackle, taking the ball away from the defender, number 11, Brad Carlin, being able to get the ball and being able to take a shot on goal. Steve Taylor, the goalie for York High School, didn't even have a chance.
Glenbard West goal scored by number 38, Brian Eastman. Glenbard West now leads 2-0.
Already 3 minutes into the game, and Glenbard West is up 2-0 on a tough York Dukes rival in the West Suburban Conference. There'll be another throw-in for Glenbard West by Jim Weeder.
Glenbard West
passes it back to the goalie Gary Ryder on a good move by Ryder, the goalie, to call for the ball. Gary with a good kick up into the midfield.
Throw in York.
Throw in by Carol Hager at York. Goes up into the midfield. York with control of the ball. Mike Balone clears the ball up for Glenbard. Kicked right back into the zone by Carl Hager. The save by Gary Ryder. Here's the kick. Another good pump by Gary Ryder. Up to Jeff Condon. Slides it up to Brian Eastman on the wing. Brian with a good run on the wing. Keeps control of the ball after Hager tries to take him down. Throw in for Glenbard, taken by Jeff Condon.
Throw in for Glenbard, taken by Jeff Condon.
Ball kicked out by Hager off of Brian Eastman, so it'll be a throw in for York. Josh Knowles kicks the ball off the back line. It'll be a corner kick for York. Whenever a defender kicks the ball over their own goal line, then the other team gets what's called a corner kick taken from either side of the corner, depending on which side of the goal the ball went out on.
Corner kick for York to be taken by number 11, Brad Carlin.
Carlin with the corner, known for his good corners in the league. Good cross up in the middle, went over the York offensive player's head, cleared out by John Dooley, the senior. Nate Schmeeken with the throw-in for York. Schmeeken takes the ball. He's met by a couple of Glenbard defenders. Brian Eastman. Eastman with the ball, loses it to a York defender. It'll be another corner kick for York High School after Josh Arnoldus kicked the ball out right now. Excuse me, it will be a throw-in. Josh Arnoldus kicked the ball out on that play.
Throwing York.
York throw-in taken by Jeff Siege. Ref calls pushing on Glenbard West. The York ball. Shot taken. Gary Ryder with the save after being challenged by number 11 of York, Brad Carlin. Sean Dunlop with the ball on the far wing. Met by a couple of York defenders. Keeps control of the ball. It'll be a throw-in for York Dukes by number 10, George Demakis on the far wing. Cleared upfield by Josh Arnoldus, the freshman. Goes back up and heads the ball up to Sean Dunlop. Pass out to Brian Eastman. Jeff Schmetz with the pass upfield, picked up by goalie Gary Ryder at Glenbard West. Good thing that Jim Weeder out there is doing the defender for Glenbard. He's standing in the goal while Gary has possession of the ball. That's just in case someone would from York would gain possession of the ball, just like what happened down on the goal by Clay Trotter at Glenbard. Maybe a player would have been down there and able to save the ball. He could not use his hands though. If he did, it would be a penalty kick for the opposing team.
Throwing York.
Jeff Carlin with the throw-in. Passes up to Jeff Schmetz. Passing to a middle of a pack of York defenders. Player upended by number 37, Brad Bruckner. That was number 9, Dan Zarillo, was taken down by York. It happened outside the penalty box. It's a direct kick. The players had to move back 10 yards. If the players did not move back 10 yards, by the time the referee tells them, they are given a yellow card, which is a warning. York with the shot on goal. Good save by Gary Ryder, the goalie.
Nice save by Gary Ryder.
If the foul, the direct free kick foul, if that had happened inside that large perimeter box called the penalty box, then it would have been an 11-meter kick, it's called, taken by one player against the goalie of the opposing team. Ty Miller with the pass back to Gary Ryder. Good stop by Gary.
Cleared downfield by Gary Ryder.
Good tackle by John Dooley and good follow-up. It'll be a throw-in for York High School.
Substitutions for Glenbard West. Number 10, Mark Johnson. Number 17, Jeff Braun. And number 39, Dave... Eric Sorensen.
Eric Sorensen coming into the game, coming out for Glenbard with Jeff Condon, the midfielder, Brad Bruckner, the defender, and John Dooley, the other midfielder. .8:55 left in the first quarter, and Glenbard's up 2-0 after a goal by Clay Trotter, the freshman, 1917 in the first quarter. Picked the ball up after a goalie miscorrectly distributed the ball and took advantage of a key situation. Then at 17:03, Brian Eastman scored on a shot. It was a really good shot from inside the penalty box. He took the ball away from the defender and just shot it right past the goalie. Be a throw-in for Glenbard West by Jim Weeder. Throws back to goalie Gary Ryder again. Ryder with the kick. Another good shot up in the midfield. Clay Trotter with possession for Glenbard. Kicked out by Trotter. It'll be a throw-in for York High School, taken by Nate Schmeeken. Handball called on Matt Carlin of York. Seems to be a problem with the placement of the ball. No, the referee's going to call a throw-in, taken by Todd Miller instead. Brian Eastman on the far wing slips on the track. That long runway pit used for the track season is part of the playing field here at Glenbard. Brian Eastman with the throw from Jim Weeder. Shot on goal, goes over the crossbar. Be a goal kick for York High School.
Shot on goal by number 38, Brian Eastman.
Carl Hager of York, the senior defender, here with the goal kick for York. Pass broken up by defender Josh Arnold, is playing the sweeper position. Shot on goal by number 18 of York, Rusty Hayes, saved by Gary Ryder. Ryder with another excellent kick way over the midfield line, going in deep into York territory. Kicked upfield by York's Carl Hager. Eric Sorensen and Glenbard West kicks the ball out. Be a York throw-in.
Throw-in York.
Kicked out again by York's Carl Hager. Throw-in by Jim Weeder at Glenbard West. Throws it up the line. It'll be a throw-in again for Glenbard West. Farther up into the field. Taken by senior, one of the co-captains, Brian Eastman. Eastman with the pass in the middle of the box to Sean Dunlop and to Mark Johnson. Kicked out by York defender. Whistle on the play. Glenbard's ball. Be a direct kick for tripping.
Tripping called on York. Direct kick for Glenbard West.
Mike Balone with the kick for Glenbard. Balone kicks it out onto the wing. Chased after by Sean Dunlop, the sophomore, but the ball rolls out. It'll be a throw-in for York High School way down near the corner flag. George Demakis of York with the throw-in, broken up by Brian Eastman. It'll be a goal kick for York High School, taken by
Goal kick for York.
Carl Hager with the goal kick again for York High School. Offside's called on Glenbard West. Brian Eastman was offside.
Offside's called on Glenbard West.
Offsides is when you are ahead of the ball or you have less than 2 defenders from the opposing team in front of you. Including defenders is usually the goalie and one other field player. Offsides is called when the ball is kicked, not when the ball is played to you. So on a long kick, a player may look offsides, but in life, he really isn't, because he might have been onside when the ball was kicked. It'll be a throw-in for York High School with 3 minutes left in the game. Coming in for York is number 13, Ed Schwartz. Coming out was number 11, Brett Carlin. The score: Glenbard West 2, York High School 0, with 2:44 left in the first quarter.
Substitution for York, number 13, Ed Schwartz.
Glenbard sub Kevin Fahey coming into the match for Mike Balone, the senior, one of the other captains, along with Balone. No.
Substitution for Glenbard West, number 22, Kevin Fahey.
When you want your team to be able to substitute, you can only sub when you have a throw-in or any of the teams has a goal kick. Now, you cannot sub on a corner kick since that is declared a penalty, an offensive situation. So the only times the team can sub is when your team has a throw-in, or it is one of the teams has a goal kick, a timeout for an injury, or the end of the quarter. That was a bad throw-in on York's George Demakis. It'll be a throw-in for Glenbard by Jim Weeder. When a player throws the ball in, both feet must be on the ground and not touching the touch line on the side. The ball has to be pulled back directly behind the head, not off to one of the sides, and cannot be spun in any way that it would move in a irregular manner. So right there, Demakis lifted one of his feet on the kick, so he was called by the referee for an illegal throw-in, so Glenbard gained control of the ball. Ty Miller breaks up the play for Glenbard West, passes up to Clay Trotter. Shot by Brad Carlin of York, goes over the goal. 44 seconds left in the first quarter. It's Glenbard 2, York High School 0.
Goal kick for Glenbard West.
On a goal kick, the ball has to be kicked out of the large penalty box, which is 18 yards wide and about 26 yards in length. If the ball is not, it has to be kicked again until the ball is put into play properly. Jeff Stitch with the throw-in for York High School. Play broken up by Jeff Braun. Another save by Gary Ryder. Gary Ryder with another good kick into the York defense. Time runs out in the first quarter, excuse me. The score at the end of one quarter is Glenbard West 2, York High School 0. Brian Eastman scored the second goal at 17:03 on a good shot, and then right away into the match with 45 seconds in, freshman Clay Trotter scored when the goalie of York, Steve Taylor, could not distribute the ball properly.
At the end of one quarter of play, Glenbard West leading 2-0 on goals by Brian Eastman and Clay Trotter. Glenbard West will host the first game of the regional starting October 22nd right here at Dushan Field. Pairings for the West Suburban Conference will be out tomorrow, Friday, October 14th. The first game will be played Saturday, October 15th.
This is the last final West Suburban Conference game of the year for Glenbard West. Next week they'll start into the West Suburban Conference tournament, where they will play in a double elimination tournament, playing on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Excuse me, the tournament is going to start Saturday this year. It hasn't been decided yet who Glenbard will play. A lot of that will decide on who wins in this game and who will lose to decide where the pairings will go. We're about ready for the start of the second quarter. Glenbard and York switch sides of the field, and it will be a York kickoff.
Parents who have not received their numerals and flowers, please do so now at the concession stand at the west corner of the stands.
Today is Parents' Day to honor all the Glenbard West varsity parents of the students who play varsity soccer. Today it doesn't look like a very nice day for Parents' Day. Very shadowy and overcast. Looks like it might rain. Hopefully it will hold off until the end of the game. We're about ready for the kickoff after the referee clears the other ball off the field. The York kickoff by number 9 of York, Dan Zarilla. Very chilly day here at Dushan Field. York with the kickoff. Passes it right into the defense. Eric Sorensen tries to get the ball. Passed outside to Jeff Sish. Sish with the pass in the middle. Oh. The York player goes up for the head ball. The ball slides off to the side. If he had gotten his head on the ball properly, then the ball would have probably gone by goalie Gary Ryder, who was taken out of the play by the pass going up for the ball.
Shot on goal for York, number 18, Rusty Hayes.
Rusty Hayes, the York forward, with the shot.
Substitution for Glenbard West, Brad Bruckner.
Brad Bruckner coming back in for Eric Sorensen. Bruckner with the goal kick. Play broken up by Jim Weeder. Ty Miller clears the ball upfield for Glenbard. Seems that York's a lot more aggressive this half, playing a lot more, getting a lot more shots on goal. Already 18:45 in the second quarter, and they've already had at least 5 good shots on goal. Glenbard on the attack. Be a throw.
Glenbard West.
Thrown by Jeff Braun. Eric Sorensen back in the game for Jim Weeder, the defender.
Substitution for Glenbard West, Eric Sorensen back in the game.
Braun with the throw up into the York penalty box, headed out by Carl Hager of York. Another throw in for Glenbard, this time taken by junior Ty Miller. Kicked back in by Jeff Braun. Brian Eastman with the control up the wing, near side for Glenbard. Kicked out by a York defender. Jeff Condon with the throw for Glenbard.
Jeff Condon with the throw in for Glenbard.
Passes it up onto the near side for Brian Eastman. Brian tries to kick the ball, misses it. Picked up by Hager of York. Kicked out again by York. It'll be a York throw-in this time. Went off one of the Glenbard players. Throw taken by number 13 of York. A new player in. Now it'll be a Glenbard throw by Jeff Condon. Easton with the shot, stopped by Hager again. Kicked out by a York defender. Good long kick by Jeff Stitch up the field. Be a throw-in for York. Play broken up by Mike Balone. Ty Mueller again with the throw-in for Glenbard on the far side. Throws it out to Clay Trotter. Heads it upfield. Forces Carl Hager of York to kick it back to his goalie, Steve Taylor. Taylor being challenged by Sean Dunlop. Dunlop cannot move with the goalie. It's called encroachment. He could be cautioned for it. He has to stay at least 10 yards away from the goalie while he's moving with the ball. It is all right for him to stop in front of the goalie when he picks up the ball and stay stationary there to obstruct his view. Brian Easton with the shot, broken up by Hager again. Jeff Braun takes down number 10 of York, George DeMarcus. Oh, excuse me, that's number 20, Nate Schmeeken. Will be a York direct free kick. Offsides called on Glenbard West. Sean Dunlop was the person called.
Offsides called on Glenbard West.
Carl Hager with the kick upfield for York High School. Be a York throw-in after Jeff Braun slide tackled and took the ball out of bounds. Ball slides through the York defense. Carl Hager on the chase. Passes it back to the goalie, Steve Taylor, who distributes the ball upfield. Jeff Conning gets the head on the ball. Heads it out, so it'll be a throw-in by York's number 13, Ed Schwartz for York. Be a York throw-in. The ball is not out of play until the whole ball is over the line. A lot of people think that the ball is out of bounds when the ball is on the line, but a lot of times people misunderstand that. On that play, the ball was off the line, and it looked like it was on from a distance, but the referee caught it in time.
Corner kick for York.
York corner kick. Sails over the York forward's heads. It goes out of bounds. It will be a Glenbard West throw-in. Rudy Garcia, number 29, the AFS student from Paraguay, comes in on the wing for Clay Trotter.
Substitution for Glenbard West, number 29, Rudy Garcia.
Garcia so far has 2 goals this year. Glenbard West doing a fine job coming onto the team. York on the attack. Ball kicked over by a York player. Glenbard goal kick. Coming back into the game is number 25, John Dooley, coming in for Jeff Braun, number 17, the winger. The left halfback.
Substitution for Glenbard West, John Dooley.
Jumping into, foul called on Mike Balone on York. It'll be a kick for Glenbard. Jumping into is when the player jumps up, not parallel with the player, but jumps on an angle into the player, knocking him down. It's one of the 10 direct free kick fouls. Others include tripping, handball, and other numerous fouls. Ball kicked into the side of the goal by Sean Dunlop. It'll be a York goal kick. Another York throw-in by Ed Schwartz. Kicked upfield by Jeff Condon. Rudy Garcia on the chase. Kicked out by number 20, Nate Schmeeken of York. Be a throw-in by Ty Miller for Glenbard West. Some of the other direct free kick fouls are kicking, tripping, charging violently, holding, pushing, or handing the ball. These fouls, if called by the referee inside the penalty box, declare a penalty kick. The other group of fouls are called indirect free kicks, which include dangerous play and other small conducts found by the referee. These calls indirect free kicks. The ball must be touched by another player before going into the goal. Ball kicked out by number 12 of Glenbard, York, thrown by number 13, Ed Schwartz of York. Kicked back into the middle by number 28 of York, Jim Kuhlman. York shot sails over the crossbar, taken by number 24, Mike Greena, just barely going over top of the crossbar. Goal kick for Glenbard West. Gary Ryder passes out to Brad Bruckner. Bruckner being chased by a York defender, passes the ball up the wing. It'd be a Glenbard throw-in by Jeff Condon, passes up on the wing to the breaking Brian Eastman. Eastman down the corner, being challenged by Carl Hager. It'll be a York goal kick. Less than 10 minutes left in the second quarter. Glenbard's still up by 2 goals over York High School.
Goal kick for York.
Substitution for York on their goal kick. Coming out, number 9, Dan Zarilla, coming in after the player gets his sweats off. Number 6, the referee declared that the player was taking too long on this out-of-bounds play. The referee is going to wait for him because of the weather conditions. Coming in is number 6, Craig Fisher.
Substitution for York, number 6, Craig Fisher.
Coming back into the midfield for York. Again, it's another very chilly day at Dushan Field. Players are only allowed to wear their shorts and a shirt. They can wear sweaters and sweatshirts underneath their jerseys. Unlike football players, their legs are not covered, so it is very cold out there for the players, so they must wear sweats on the bench, so it takes a while for them to get ready to come into the game. Ball kicked upfield by John Dooley, number 25, and saved by Steve Taylor of York. Pass up by York's Brad Carlin, saved by Gary Ryder. Ryder with a low, hard driving shot up to Rudy Garcia, the AFS student. Mike Malone with control of the ball in the midfield, feeds it up through the wing to Sean Dunlop, being his defender. Sean gets the ball taken away from him by number 13, Ed Schwartz. kicked upfield by a York defender. Sean Dunlop gets another try in the same area. Passes off to Brian Eastman. Brian passes back to him. Dunlop with the pass in the middle. John Dooley with right there. Saved by Steve Taylor. John Dooley shoots again. Bounces off of Rudy Garcia. Doesn't go into the goal. Good play by the goalie Steve Taylor of York. Keeping his heads up, not falling to the ground or onto his knees. That's a good thing for the young players in the audience who are goalies to watch. Goalies should not break down to their knees until the last resort.
Substitution for Glenbard West, Clay Trotter.
Clay Trotter coming into the match for Sean Dunlop. .604 left in the second quarter. Glenbard up 2-0 over York High School. Ty Miller with the throw on for Glenbard West. Headed out of bounds by Nate Schmeeken of York. Glenbard will get a corner kick.
Glenbard West with the corner kick to be taken by number 37, Brad Bruckner.
Bruckner on the far side with the corner kick. Hopefully he's trying to kick the ball into Brian Eastman on the air. Ball didn't make it into the playing field. It'll be a York goal kick.
Substitution for York, number 5, Dan Heinz.
Dan Heinz coming into the game for number 6, Craig Fisher. Nate Schmeeken on the attack for York. Brings it across the midfield line, being challenged by John Dooley. Tripped by Dooley. Be a direct kick for York High School.
Tripping called on Glenbard West. Direct free kick for York.
Referee going over to talk to John Dooley. John Dooley cautioned for that play. It'll be a violent misconduct charge. John Dooley now has a warning. Next major foul called on will probably be he will receive a red card, which is an ejection. When the player from a team is ejected, no player may be put in for that player. Gary Ryder with the save. Again, if John Dooley were to go out of the game for Glenbard, Glenbard would be forced to play with 10 players while York would still have the normal 11.
Cleared downfield by Glenbard.
Play broken up by York's Carl Hager. Eric Sorensen gets the ball from the York defender. White throw in by Jeff Condon. Another throw on by Jeff Condon to Glenbard. Glenbard in the traditional white uniform of the home team in soccer. York in the green color. It'll be a corner kick for Glenbard as Brian Eastman kicked the ball off the York defender. Clay Trotter with the corner kick for Glenbard. They'll try and get the ball up in the air into the area where Brian and Rudy are.
Corner kick for Glenbard West to be taken by 42, Clay Trotter.
John Dooley with the shot broken up by Carl Hager of York. York coming out on the attack with Rusty Hayes passing the ball out to Ed Schwartz. Brad Bruckner breaks up the play for Glenbard, kicks the ball upfield to the winger, Clay Trotter. Ball kicked out by Eric Sorensen and Glenbard West. It'll be a York throw-in by number 21, Jeff Sish. 2:28 left in the second quarter. Glenbard still up 2-0 over York High School. West Suburban Conference match.
Parents who haven't gotten their numerals and flowers, please check in at the concession stand at the west corner of the stands.
York with the throw-in down near the Glenbard West goal. Jeff Sish kicks the ball back in. Kicked out by a Glenbard West defender. Brian Eastman with the long kick upfield. Steve Taylor of York with the save. Kicks it upfield. Ball was out of bounds. Be a throw-in by Jeff Condon to Glenbard.
Throw-in for Glenbard West.
Excuse me, the referee overruled Jeff Condon. His rule and gave the throw-in to York. Come on. York shot, another save by Gary Ryder at Glenbard West. Mike Greeno with the shot.
Gary Ryder.
Minute to play to end the first half. Glenbard's still up 1-0. Good trap by Brian Eastman. Mike Malone kicks the ball up. Rudy Garcia can't get there in time. Steve Taylor with the save for York. Kicks the ball off to the side, the far side. Ball goes out. It'll be a Glenbard throw-in. Less than 30 seconds left in the first half. Call there on Mike Malone of Glenbard West. He tripped Carl Hager of York. The referee did not want to use the advantage clause. Advantage clause says that if the referee feels that the team is going to lose, the first half runs out on Glenbard. Glenbard is up 2-0 over Hinsdale, over York High School. Number 42, the freshman Clay Trotter, scored at 19-17 in the first quarter after the goalie, Steve Taylor of York, could not distribute the ball properly. Glenbard picked up on a key break there, and Glenbard was up 1-0 only 45 seconds into the game. Then at 17:03, Brian Eastman scored after he took the ball away from York defender right inside the penalty box. Took a good shot up into the upper left corner and scored. So Glenbard now leads to Glenbard West varsity soccer game today here at Dushan Field. It's very cold today, very gloomy outside. Hopefully we'll get the second half in all the way. York is down 2 goals. Glenbard scored in the first quarter at 19-17 by Clay Trotter picking up a loose ball that was not distributed well by the goalie Steve Taylor. Then Brian Eastman at 17:03 of the first quarter scored when he took the ball away from a York defender in front of the goal and just took a really good shot up into the upper left corner and scored. Right now, York's out on the field and we'll be ready to get going in a couple seconds with the action. Today was Parents' Day. We had a very good turnout today by Glenbard West varsity parents. Hope to see this kind of crowd in years to come for Glenbard West soccer. Good showing by the youth soccer program here, which is now in its, I couldn't tell you what year, but it's been around for a while. Almost 1,000 participants in it. It's the 5th year that the town of Glen Ellyn has sponsored an in-house program. Glen Ellyn teams play in the West Suburban Soccer League, playing on Sunday afternoons against teams like Wheaton, Hanover Park, Libertyville, Mundelein, and other neighboring community areas. Looks like the same lineup from the first half for Glenbard. Up in front will be Sean Dunlop, Brian Eastman, and Clay Trotter. In the midfield will be Brian Eastman, Jeff Condon, and John Dooley. And then the defenders will be Jim Weeder, that's Brad Bruckner, Ty Miller, and at sweeper will be Josh Arnoldus, and at goalie will be Gary Ryder.
Glenbard West to kick off.
Glenbard with the kickoff to start off the third quarter. Sean Dunlap and Mike Balone up there for the kickoff. Indirect free kick for York. The referee signals are both disagree. The referees decide that it'll be a Glenbard indirect free kick. Kick taken by Brad Bruckner.
Free kick for Glenbard West.
Ball kicked out by Nate Schmeeken of York. York on the attack. Justin Knowles kicks the ball up field. Number 10 of York, George Demakis, tries to trap the ball, but the ball goes out of bounds. Glenbard throw. York on the attack again. Clay Trotter with good defensive move has a run up the near side of the field. Ball taken away from him by Carl Hager of York. Kicks it upfield to Brian Eastman. Brian Eastman crosses in front of the goal. Steve Taylor chases after it while Sean Dunlap's on him. Referee is calling a foul on Sean Dunlap for pushing. The ball will be put down in a York penalty box. It'll be a kick by Mike Greena of York. Kicks it upfield. Ball kicked out of bounds by Glenbard's Jeff Condon. Corner kick for York. 17:26 left in the third quarter. Glenbard up 2-0.
To be taken by number 11, Brad Carlin.
Carlin with the corner. Good corner up in the middle. Headed out by Brian Eastman. Sean Dunlap with a good square pass out on the wing to Clay Trotter. Trotter keeps control of the ball. Passes back to John Dooley. Throw in by York. Brad Carlin crosses the ball to the other side of the field. Picked up by Jeff Sish of York. Passes it out to his midfielder. Kicked out of bounds by Jeff Conda of Glenbard. There'll be another corner kick for York, taken by Brad Carlin again.
Corner kick for York.
Short corner taken by Brad Carlin. Kicked in the middle by a York midfielder. The player does not always have to kick the ball in towards the goal. He just has to kick the ball into play, but he cannot touch the ball until somebody else has touched it. Glenbard West throw-in taken by John Dooley. Clay Trotter on the wing for Glenbard with starting a good run. Broken up by Carl Hager of York. Brian Eastman picks up the loose ball, runs down the side, cuts in the middle inside. Carl Hager of York fouls Brian Eastman with a direct foul, pushing. Glenbard will have it outside of the York penalty box.
Pushing called on York. Glenbard West will have a free kick.
Now, if Glenbard kicked it directly into the goal without touching a player, it would be a goal. If this were an indirect free kick, it would be disallowed and the goal kick would be called. On indirect free kicks, again, the ball must touch another player before going in. Brad Bruckner with the kick for Glenbard. Broken up in the middle by a York defender. Kicked upfield by Nate Schmeeken of York. Josh Oldis picks up the loose ball in the midfield. Passes outside to Brad Bruckner. Bruckner passes up to the offsides. Clay Trotter.
Offsides called on Clay Trotter.
Number 24 at York, Mike Greena with the kick. Brad Carlin, along with the chase with Ty Miller of Glenbard, passes it back to the goalie Gary Ryder, who's been having an excellent game so far. Has a shutout, many good saves. York throwing on the far side. Bad throw by York. Player lifted his feet. Jeff Kynan with the throw on the far side for Glenbard. John Dooley breaks up the York pass in the middle. Carl Hager of York kicks the ball out of bounds. It'll be another throw in for Glenbard. Ball kicked out of bounds will be a York throw-in. Ball headed out of bounds by George Demakis of York on the throw-in, so it'll be a Glenbard West throw-in taken by Jim Weeder.
Glenbard West throwing.
Substitution in the game for Glenbard.
Substitution for Glenbard West. Jeff Braun in the game.
Jeff Braun, number 17, coming in on the far wing. Midfielder for Jeff Condon. York with a good lead pass. Gary Ryder breaks up the play. York regroups. Shot by York, covered by Gary Ryder.
Gary Ryder with the save for Glenbard West.
York on the attack. Passes back to his midfielder, George Demakis. Broken up by a Glenbard defender. Pass up to Brian Eastman on the wing. Nate Schmeeken making the chase. Brian with a good run on the side. He's got Clay Trotter in the middle. Brian keeps dribbling. Broken up by Carl Hager of York. John Dooley comes, gets the ball away from Hager. Passes up to Brian Eastman. Eastman down in the corner. It'll be a corner kick for Glenbard after the ball was kicked out by Nate Schmeeken of York.
Corner kick for Glenbard West. Sean Dunlop to take the kick.
Dunlop with the corner. Hopefully he will be able to get the ball up in the air to Clay Trotter or Brian Eastman standing next to the York goal. Ball kicked short, cleared out by York defender. Nate Schmeeken passes back to his goalie, Steve Taylor, on a very weak pass. On those kind of plays, the ball is supposed to be a sharp, crisp pass so the offensive team cannot intercept it. Sean Dunlop almost getting a foot on the ball there. Less than 10 minutes to go in the third quarter. Glenbard still has 2 goals over York, which has none. York throwing on the far side. Another York throw-in taken by Jeff Sish. Passed up to Rusty Hayes. Ball kicked out by Josh Arnold. This will be another throw-in by Rusty Hayes for York.
Throw-in for York.
York passes back again to their goalie, Steve Taylor, after the good Glenbard chase down the side by Clay Trotter and Sean Dunlop. Steve Taylor, the goalie for York, put the ball on the ground. Sean Dunlop kicked the ball. The referee whistled it. Be a foul on Sean Dunlop for the foul. York will get a direct free kick. Mike Greena with the kick for York High School.
Free kick for York.
Glenbard still in the attack. John Dooley with possession of the ball, broken up by Carl Hager. Whistle on the play, kicking by Carl Hager. It will be a Glenbard West direct free kick.
Kicking called on York. Glenbard West direct kick.
Brad Bruckner with the direct kick for Glenbard. Josh Arnoldus, the freshman sweeper, picks up the ball. Drives through the York defense. Tries to pass to Clay Trotter, broken up by Nate Schmink in New York. Ball kicked upfield to Sean Dunlop on the wing by Brad Bruckner. Dunlop passes the ball out on the wing to Brian Eastman. Be a Glenbard throw-in. Coming in the game for Glenbard are Jeff Condon, Eric Sorensen, and David Hagernes. Coming out are Brad Bruckner, Mike Ballone, and Jim Weeder.
Substitutions for Glenbard West, number 12, Jeff Condon, number 36, David Hagernes, and number 39, Eric Sorensen.
6:35 left in the third quarter. Glenbard 2, York nothing. Play broken up by George DeMarcus of York. Glenbard regroups and comes back on the attack. Brian Easton with the ball on the far wing. Foul called on Glenbard. Direct kick for York High School. Good kick up into the Glenbard defense. Oh! Gary Redder knocked down on the play, waiting for the referee's call. Gary Redder down in the field injured. It did not look intentional from up here. It's up to the referee's decision whether to eject the player number 20. We don't know which York player rolled over Gary Ryder. Hopefully he will be all right. 5:46 left in the third quarter. Glenbard up 2-0.
Gary Ryder down on the field.
As we have a timeout here on the field, this program is exclusively produced by Glenbard West students. Players and coaches coming off the field. Gary Ryder is still in the game for Glenbard. Be a direct free kick for Glenbard inside the penalty box. The referee did not feel that the play was intentional for the player to take out the goalie, so no red card was given. Usually on that kind of play, when a player is taken down like that, the player is given a red card and ejected from the game. Therefore, the team would be playing one player short than the rest of the players. Discussion right now between the two referees deciding what course of action they will take. Timeout on the field at 5:46. Glenbard 2, York 0. Head coach Scott Stevens in on the discussion along with John Dooley, one of the captains.
Glenbard West will host the first game of the regionals on October 22nd right here at Dushan Field. And pairings for the West Suburban Conference will be announced tomorrow, Friday, October 14th. The first game is to be played Saturday, October 15th.
This is purely a judgment call by the referee. Play about to resume with a direct kick for Glenbard. Gary Ryder coming out of the game for Glenbard. Apparently he is injured, or the coach feels to give him a rest. Nick Dugan in at goal for Glenbard.
Nick Dugan now in goal for Glenbard West.
Gary Ryder having an excellent game so far. Hopefully he will come back into the match. He has many fine, excellent saves. So far he has a shutout, and he's just been playing one of his best games ever so far today. Shutting down Brad Carlin, one of the leading scorers in the West Suburban Conference League. It's getting very dark here at Dushan Field. Hopefully we will get in the rest of the game. Nick Dugan with the kick into the midfield. Glenbard with the cross in the middle. York Steve Taylor with the save. Ball kick.
Substitution,
Gary Ryder coming back into the game for Nick Dugan.
Gary Ryder coming back into the game.
I think under a technicality of the rules, since Gary Ryder went down injured, he had to come out on the play. A substitute had to be put in, and after the next possession that Gary Ryder could be put in the game, he was put immediately back in at 4:33 of the third quarter, excuse me. John Dooley with the throw on for Glenbard, loops it over the York defender's heads. Steve Taylor with the save for York. Ball kicked out by Ty Miller at Glenbard West. York with the throw down into Glenbard West defense. Rusty Hayes with the throw for York High School up to Carl Hager. Gary Ryder with the save. Ryder with the kick again over the midfield line into the York defense. Jeff Braun on the opposite side giving chase to the ball. Thrown for Glenbard by Eric Sorensen, throws it back to Gary Ryder, the goalie. Glenbard's been really utilizing that play today so far, passing it back to Gary Ryder. It's a good way for Glenbard to get the ball upfield. Gary Ryder again picks up the ball. Sean Dunlop with the ball on the far side, passes out to the outside to Brian Easton. Easton passes up on, Jeff Braun passes out to Brian Easton on the wings. Brian kicks the ball out of bounds. It'll be a goal kick for York High School.
Goal kick for the York Dukes.
Carl Hager with the kick for York. Ball kicked out of bounds. Mike Ballone coming back into the game for Glenbard.
Substitution for Glenbard, Mike Ballone back in the game.
John Dooley coming out of the game for Glenbard. Mike moving over into the wing. Jeff Braun with the throw-in. Broken up by a York defender. Brian Eastman kicks the ball, gains control of the ball, passes off to Jeff. Jeff passes outside to Jeff Braun. Rusty Hayes down on the wing for York High School, being challenged by Ty Miller. Hayes passes the ball out into the midfield. Gary Ryder with the save from the shot by Mike Greena of York.
Gary Ryder with the save for Glenbard West.
Down to 1:30 in the third quarter, Glenbard up 2-0 over York High School in a West Suburban Conference soccer game. Another throw-in for Glenbard by Jeff Braun. Illegal throw called on Jeff Braun. It looked like there was too much spin on the ball. It'll be a throw-in for York. York player upended on the play. Eric Sorensen took the player out. It'll be a tripping call on Glenbard West. Direct free kick on the opposite side of the field. Less than a minute left in the third quarter. York sticks the ball up in front of the goal. Rusty Hayes of York misses the ball. Kicked out of bounds by Jeff Condon. We apologize for the poor color picture. Another gloomy and dark day at Dishon Field in Glen Ellen. Less than 30 seconds in the third quarter, shot by Rusty Hayes of York clears the crossbar. Be a goal kick for Glenbard West.
Shot by York over the crossbar, goal kick for Glenbard West.
15 seconds on the clock in the third quarter. Ty Miller with the kick for Glenbard. Time runs out in the third quarter with Glenbard still up 2-0.
At the end of 3 quarters of play, the score: Glenbard West 2, York nothing.
Gary Ryder, apparently injured early with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, comes back into the match to make some very key saves to keep Glenbard still in the match. He wasn't apparently injured when that player from York collided with him. Hopefully he will come in for the fourth quarter. Glenbard 1-2-2 is playing in their final West Suburban Conference game of the year. So is York. This next week, York and Glenbard will be playing in the West Suburban Conference tournament before start of the Illinois High School State Association regional tournament, which goes on to sectionals and then down to the state meet, which is November 4th and 5th. The town in which it will be held has not been declared yet. York and Glenbard switch sides for the fourth quarter. Be a York kickoff.
On the road.
Same lineup from the third quarter in for Glenbard. York with the kickoff. Broken up right away by Jeff Condon of Glenbard. Referees call a goal kick on that ball that went out of bounds over the Glenbard back line. Brad Bruckner with the kick out to the side to Ty Miller. Ty Miller on the move up the side. Goes by one York defender. Goes by the second. Stopped by the third. Ball picked up by Mike Ballone. Shot by Jeff Stish of York High School wide over the opposite touchline. Touched by Gary Ryder. He got a hand on it. It'll be a corner kick for York High School.
Corner kick for York.
Ed Schwartz with the corner for York. Good corner. Brian Eastman gets a hit on it for the defense. Number 9 of York, Dan Zarilla, picks up the ball. Brian takes it away from him. Makes a good run up the midfield. Kicks the ball ahead of him. On the run. Brian Eastman kicks it up. Kicked over the back line. Glenbard given a corner kick at 18:23. Excuse me, the referee overruled that, the other one, and called the ball a goal kick. The Glenbard throw on by Jim Weeder. Jeff Kynan with a good slide tackle knocks the ball out. York ball. Oh, the ball was tipped over. Gary, defender said Glenbard was trying to pass the ball back. Slipped through the hands of Gary Ryder. The ball was out to the side. The ball was kicked by Ty Miller. (17:27) to the fourth quarter. Glenbard scores. Jeff Sisha of York with the goal. Score now, Glenbard 2, York 1. York trying to make a resurgence in the fourth quarter, 17:22 left. Thrown by Glenbard by Ty Miller. We apologize again for the poor picture. It's becoming very dark here and overcast. Hopefully we will get the rest of the game in before it starts to rain. York with the pass up into the midfield. York player with the shot clears over the crossbar.
Substitution for Glenbard West. John Dooley and Eric Sorensen back in the game.
John Dooley and Eric Sorensen in for the game. Jim Weeder and Jeff Braun coming out for Glenbard. Good goal kick by Brad Bruckner, kicks it over the midfield line. Brian Eastman up for the head, heads it over to the side of Clay Trotter. Jeff Condon with the kick up on the wing to Sean Dunlop, breaking away from. Ball kicked out of bounds by Carl Hager of York. Be thrown down in the corner by Glenbard. Jeff Condon with the throw.
Throw in for Glenbard West to be taken by Jeff Condon.
Brian Eastman with control of the ball, kicked out by York defender. Ed Schwartz with the ball for York on the run. Referee calls timeout on the clock, reaching for his cards. Number 26, Mike Ballone of Glenbard, given the yellow card, the caution for that call. York with the direct free kick. The foul, the card was pulled after the foul. So now John Dooley and Mike Ballone of Glenbard have yellow cards. Jeff Condon with the throw up to Sean Dunlop on the wing.
Yellow card called on Mike Ballone of Glenbard West. Make that Jeff Condon.
A little discretion over who was called on that yellow card. Wasn't decided if it was Jeff Condon or Mike Ballone. Players on the bench feel it was Mike Ballone who was given the yellow card. Some feel that it was also Mike Ballone. The referee did not make it clear who it was called on. Brad Breitner clears the ball upfield for Glenbard up to Brian Eastman on the wing. Nate Schmeeken of York kicks the ball back to his goalie, Steve Taylor, who kicks it out of bounds. We throw him for Glenbard.
Throwing for Glenbard West.
.18 left in the fourth quarter. Glenbard 2, York 1. Steve Taylor with the kick up to Ed Schwartz on the wing. Rusty Hayes of York with the shot, point blank shot, saved by Gary Ryder. Excellent save by Gary.
Goal for York, number 18, Rusty Hayes.
Gary Ryder with the kick upfield, again over the midfield line to Brian Eastman. Broken up by a York defender. Ball kicked out of bounds.
Corner kick for York.
Referee calls a corner kick. York short kick, passes off to one of his players. Passes it back, give and go, nice. Josh Arnoldus breaks up the play for Glenbard. Clay Trotter with the ball on the far side for Glenbard. David Hegarty is coming in for Glenbard.
Substitution for Glenbard West, David Hegarty.
Going out for Glenbard is Ty Miller. It'll be a Glenbard throw-in taken by Brian Eastman. York again attacking, not letting up on Glenbard. Kicked out of bounds. The referee calls a goal kick.
Goal kick for Glenbard West.
.12:15 left in the fourth quarter. Glenbard 2, York 1. Brad Bruckner with the kick for Glenbard. Brian Easton with the break on the far wing. Carl Hager with him on the side. Brian controls the ball. The ball rolls over the end line. Referee calls a goal kick. Ed Schwartz with the ball for York on the near side. Through a pass picked up by Mike Ballone. Pass on the outside to Clay Trotter, the freshman. Referee calls a corner kick. Glenbard corner kick on the far side. 11 minutes left in the game.
Corner kick for Glenbard West to be taken by David Hagerty.
David Hagerty, number 36, the junior, with the kick. Good corner up to Brian Eastman. Steve Taylor gets a hand on it. Loose ball in front. Kicked around. Kicked in by Clay Trotter on a loose ball in front of the Glenbard goal. Steve Taylor, the York goalie, could not get his hand. He could not distribute, could not get the ball out of the area, could not punch the ball out. Did a very poor job of clearing the corner kick. Carl Hager tried to kick it away, but Brian Easton was there to stop it. Clay Trotter picked up the free ball in front of the goal. Clay Trotter, that's his second goal of the game. Goal comes at 10:37 of the fourth quarter. Glenbard up 3-1. Excellent goal. Excellent opportunity taken by Clay Trotter. That's 2 times he's had heads-up play today and scored for Glenbard. Rusty Hayes with the shot. Rolls over the end line. Glenbard with the goal kick.
Goal kick for Glenbard.
Brad Bruckner with the goal kick. Jeff Conner with control. Switches upfield to Clay Trotter. Clay Trotter on the run, along with Nate Schmeeken of York. Nate kicks it upfield. Clay hits it. Be a York throw-in. Rusty Hayes with the ball for York in the Glenbard midfield. Ball taken away by Josh Arnoldus. Arnoldus on the run up the field, being chased by number 11, Brad Carlin. Less than 10 minutes to go. Be a York throw. Pushing called on Jeff Condon to Glenbard West. York with the direct free kick for pushing. Carl Hager with the kick into the midfield. Brad Bruckner doing a fine job at playing center fullback today. He's cleared the ball upfield to Brian Eastman. Brian Eastman with the run up the far side. He's got Clay Trotter square. Brian kicks the ball ahead of him. Nate Schmeeken on the run. Oh, nice cross into the middle. Broken up by Carl Hager of York. Sean Dunlop picks up the ball on the far side. Crosses it again. Broken up by Hager again. Jeff Condon there to pick up the loose ball. Steve Taylor of York, the goalie, picks up the ball and punts it out to Jeff Sish, of York. Timeout called by the referee. Player down on the field. We got it! Can't tell yet who the player is injured. 8:23 in the fourth quarter. Player down. Score Glenbard 3, York 1. Clay Trotter scoring a 10:37 in the fourth quarter on a loose ball in front of the goal on a corner kick. Player injured, seems to be up and around. Sean Dunlap seems to be doing better, staying in the game. We'll resume play with throw-in by Jeff Sicht of York High School. Ball kicked upfield. Sean Dunlap making another good chase against pushing called on Dunlap. Be a York kick.
Pushing called on Glenbard West.
Dan Heinz of York was down there on the run with him. We again apologize for the poor picture. It's becoming very dark and overcast here at Dushan Field. 7:59 left in the fourth quarter of the game. Mike Malone with control of the ball in the middle of the field. Dribbles through 2 York players. Takes a shot. Broken up by Carl Hager of York. Another shot. It's a goal! Clay Trotter of Glenbard scores his 3rd goal of the game. He has a hat trick today. He picked up a loose ball again in front of the goal. Clay Trotter playing one of the best games of his life today. Picking out the loose ball again in front of the goal. Excellent play, heads up play by Clay Trotter.
Glenbard now leads 4-1.
Clay Trotter, only a freshman this year, playing on the right wing, has been a consistent starter all season so far for Glenbard. That puts Glenbard up 4-1 over York High School. Excellent heads up play by Clay. The goalie for York, Steve Larson, is just making too many mistakes today. Glenbard's Clay Trotter is just capitalizing on him. He's capitalized 3 times so far this game. So Glenbard is leading 4-1. There was 7 minutes left in the game. York thrown by Carl Hager. Brian Easton with the control. Passes through to John Dooley. John Dooley picks up the ball. Dooley takes a shot, saved by Steve Taylor of York.
Number 25, John Dooley.
Brian Easton with the shot. Another goal for Glenbard at 6:55 in the fourth quarter. Brian Easton picking up a ball that was passed upfield by a York defender. Took advantage of the ball, took the ball upfield, took a shot inside the penalty box, and just stuffed it off the post. Excellent shot by Brian Easton, keeping the ball away from Steve Taylor, the York goalie. Glenbard now leads 5-1 with 6:55 left in the fourth quarter. Gary Ryder coming out of the game for Glenbard West. He's played an excellent game this whole time, only allowing 1 goal in. Coming into the game for goal is Nick Dugan.
Goalie for Glenbard West, Nick Dugan in the game.
York pass from the far side, goes over the touchline. It'll be a Glenbard goal kick.
Goal kick for Glenbard.
Coming into the game for Glenbard is number 15, Dave Cox. Coming out is Eric Sorensen, number 39 on defense.
Dave Cox in the game for Glenbard West.
Carl Hager kicks the ball upfield for York. Ed Schultz picks up the ball in the middle. Seems that Schwartz, not Schultz. Mike Malone of Glenbard breaks up the play. Mike Green of York High School gets the goal at 6:09. Excellent shot, about 25 yards outside of the goal into the upper right-hand corner, excuse me. Excellent shot by Mike Greenough. No chance for Nick Dugan to save that one. That was just too fast of a shot for any goalie.
6:09 left in the game. Glenbard West leads 5-2.
That makes the score 5-2 with Glenbard up by 3 goals. Brian Eastman on the attack again for Glenbard. Another good shot. Steve Taylor of York with the save.
Brian Eastman.
Ball kicked out of bounds by Taylor. Be a throw-in for Glenbard.
Glenbard West throwing.
Jeff Condon with the throw. Sub for Glenbard. Play is resumed on, even though the referee had called for the substitution. Fell on Glenbard High School. York on the attack, down in front of the goal. Nick Dugan with a very good save. Stopped the shot of Dan Zorilla.
By Glenbard goalie Nick Dugan.
York giving a corner.
Corner kick for York, taken by Brad Carlin.
Carlin with the short corner. Pass off to Greena. Oh, what an excellent shot into the upper left-hand corner. He curved that ball right around all the defenders and it's about up into the corner. It sunk down into the corner. Excellent shot. That makes the score 5-3. York High School now has 3 goals. Glenbard has 5. Glenbard now leading 5-3. 4:38 left in the game. Excellent shot. Starting goalie Gary Ryder back in the game.
Substitution for Glenbard West, Brad Bruckner, John Dooley, Jeff Condon, and Eric Sorensen back in the game, and Gary Ryder is back as goalie.
Mark Johnson, Dave Cox, and Kevin Fahey coming out of the game for Glenbard.
Dave Hegarty's back in the game.
Glenbard kicks off after the third goal by York. York kicks the ball upfield into the Glenbard defense. Eric Sorensen gets a head on it. Josh Arnoldus there with the kick upfield. Jeff Condon passes the ball up to Mike Blow and kicks it upfield to where Sean Dunlop is running against Carl Hager. Passed that ball back to goalie Steve Taylor. Timeout called by the referee on this side. He's reaching for his cards. Coach Scott Stevens of Glenbard going to be given a caution at 4:07 in the fourth quarter. Score 5-3, Glenbard leading. He was given a yellow card for encroachment on the field. The referees are supposed to, the coaches, are supposed to sit on the benches and are not allowed up near the touchline. The coach, Scott Stevens, was walking inside the playing field, and the referee deemed it necessary to give him a yellow card.
Glenbard yellow card given to Coach Scott Stevens.
Glenbard, York shot by number 18, Rusty Hayes, wide to the goal. It'll be a goal kick for Glenbard. Go down and tell him.
Goal kick for Glenbard.
We again apologize for the very poor picture. It's very dark and overcast here at Dushan Field today. Be a throw-in for York High School. Foul called on Glenbard West. It'll be a direct kick right outside the penalty box. Quick pass given to Rusty Hayes. Shot saved by Gary Ryder.
Shot on goal for York by number 18, Rusty Hayes.
Oh, Gary Ryder's been playing a very excellent game today. Only allowing 2 goals up this game. 2 very good shots by York players. Nate Schmeeken about to pass the ball back to Steve Taylor. Taylor picks up the ball, kicks it high and very short and shallow. Carl Hager picks up the ball for York. It sends it upfield. Two minutes to go in the game. Glenbard leading 5-3. Clay Trotter on the attack for Glenbard. Excellent tackle by number 5, Dan Heinz of York. Ed Schwartz of York picks up the ball on the far near wing. Josh Arnoldus picks up the loose ball, passes it up to Sean Dunlap. Dunlap sticks it through the legs of Carl Hager. That's called a nutmeg. Referee did not call the foul there. It was called an advantage. Glenbard had the advantage as Brian Easton could pick up the ball, but then the ball was tackled by Carl Hager again, and it went out of bounds. Another throw for York from Mike Greena. Passes up to number 21, Jeff Sitch. Glenbard on the attack again. Passes up, Mike Blum passes up to Brian Eastman. Brian Eastman dumps it out to Sean Dunlop. Kicked out of bounds by Dan Heinz of York. Less than a minute to go in the game. Glenbard leading. Referee calls a throw-in. 45 seconds left in the game. Glenbard winning 5-3. Ball kicked out again by Carl Hager of York. Another throw-in by Jeff Condon of York. Of Glenbard, excuse me. Jeff Condon with the ball on the near wing. Kicks it, saved by Steve Taylor.
Goalman number 12, Jeff Condon.
Clay Trotter with the shot on goal, clears over the crossbar. 10 seconds left in the game. Goal kick for York. And there it is. Glenbard wins 5-3 in the last regular scheduled conference game of the year. That makes Glenbard 2-2-2 in conference, 4-7-4 overall to end out the season before the West Suburban Conference Tournament. York now is 2-4-1, 3-8-3. Clay Trotter leads the team in scoring with 3 goals. Clay Trotter picks up the first goal at 19-17 in the first quarter on a loose ball, sticking it into the corner. Glenbard next scored by Brian Eastman at 17:03 of the first quarter, sticking a nice shot that he took the ball away from a York defender, sticking it into the corner. Glenbard again, Clay Trotter also scored 2 more goals in the game in the fourth quarter at 10:37 and 7:49 on loose balls that were making mistakes by Steve Taylor. Steve Taylor played an excellent game pretty much overall, but made too many mistakes that Glenbard could counter on. For York, Jeff Sish scored the first goal in the fourth quarter on a really nice shot into the upper left-hand corner. Mike Greena, number 24, a defender listed as a defender, had scored